Thank you to our sponsor, MBA Growth Partners.
Welcome to Studio 501c3. I'm your host, Kim Jones, CEO of the Nonprofit Village, a capacity builder and shared space for nonprofits. This show features nonprofit organizations that provide critical and essential programs and services. They are charities that the IRS has designated as 501c3 because they provide a public benefit. Very often, your donations to these nonprofits are tax deductible. We're also a proud partner of Montgomery Community Media, your public access resource that provides information on programs and services that are relevant to our community. On this episode, we're talking to Lisa Alexander, the Executive Director of the Audubon Naturalist Society. The Society is the oldest independent environmental organization in the DC region and a pioneer in linking conservation activities with environmental education. Lisa, thanks so much for being here today.
Oh, thanks for welcoming me, Kim.
Great. So let's get into what some of the programs, because I'm not sure what people think the Audubon Naturalist Society does, but you do reach, because you do so much education in the community, you're reaching thousands of children through not only school-based programs, but out-of-school time programs and activities. And then you've got all of the adults that participate in programs and tours, and there are children's field trips, adult field trips, and all kinds of other experiences. So tell us about this range of programs that really fulfills your mission.
I would be delighted to. One of the things that makes Audubon Naturalist Society special is that we are exclusively in service to the DC metro region. So we are working in Virginia, Maryland, and the District of Columbia. And I like to think of our activities as cradle to cane. We take you from infancy all the way up until you're walking with a cane or a walker. And we have three mission pillars. Our mission pillars are education, conservation, and restoration. And our motto is enjoy, learn, protect. So we really feel like for people to connect with nature, they have to enjoy it. They have to get outside, as so many of us have done over the past year, to escape the pandemic. We have gotten outside to appreciate birds and flowers and trees and insects. And then once you've learned something about nature, then you start to feel that urge to protect it. And so with our programming, whether it's leading a nature preschool or training community advocates to speak up for nature in their neighborhoods, we're always helping people enjoy, learn about, and protect the natural world. We think it's essential for the future of our region to have that nature connection. And we also think that growing the next generation of nature stewards is a legacy worth growing.
And so that's a good point about the fact that through the education process and through this process of getting to know, the environment and everything that it has to offer, you're actually finding volunteers. You're finding people that want to come and help in different ways. So what are some of the activities that those volunteers get involved with?
Well, we're so proud to have almost 500 volunteers help us with our mission work. And volunteers help with everything. We have volunteers that help us lead our nature field trips for children. We have volunteers that help us do restoration plantings at our nature sanctuaries in Chevy Chase, Maryland, and in Leesburg, Virginia. We also have volunteers who are doing things like working in our nature shop, the Audubon Naturalist Shop, where we feature things like field guides and bird feeders and all kinds of ways that you can connect with nature, again, for people of all ages.
And is there also some advocacy work that goes into that with the staff and volunteers together?
Absolutely.
And what does that advocacy involve?
So one of the things to think about here in the DC metro region is that climate change is one of the biggest threats to the environment. And here in DC, our two big climate contributors are transportation and buildings, believe it or not. And so as we work on advocacy throughout the region, we work on things like sound land use planning. And that takes a lot of boots on the ground. That takes a lot of people doing research, visiting sites, making testimony at public hearings about the value of protecting green spaces, planning for land use so that all people have access to nature, and making sure that sprawl doesn't put more people and more CO2 on our roadways. And so advocacy really is a team effort with ANS. We have advocates in Maryland, Virginia, and the District of Columbia. And without volunteers amplifying the voice of those calls for good land use, we wouldn't be making any progress, but we're making great progress.
That's good. Very good to know. So I want to go to the sanctuaries that you have, like you mentioned, Chevy Chase, suburban Virginia. I think it's Leesburg. So this is a place where people can come and they can take nature walks. They can visit gardens. I guess you could do almost anything. There, there's bird watching, anything. What do you think people appreciate most in their experience when they're visiting a sanctuary?
Well, I think that having oases in urban areas is key for people. A chance to get away from the computer, from the traffic, to get into a place of peace and restorative feelings. There's nothing like watching a stream or sitting quietly by a pond or watching birds in the trees. It really helps both our mental and physical health. And so we're proud to have our sanctuaries free and open to the public 365 days a year, so folks can recharge and reconnect to nature.
And I think that's so important, especially, through chaos, through, shutdowns, pandemics, the chaos of the work world, how people's work has exploded in many ways. And I think that, rooting yourself, so to speak, and allowing yourself to decompress in that way is very important. So we do need to take a brief break, but when we come back, we're going to hear more about the programs and the services provided by the Audubon Naturalist Society. And then I'm going to ask you, Lisa, to talk a little bit about what drew you to this work in your career. Okay. Studio 501c3 on Montgomery Community Media. We'll be right back.
Jordan knows he shouldn't eat this entire bowl of nachos, but tonight he's earned that right because a few hours ago in the middle of happy hour, he recognized a sign. Not from the gods or a bolt of lightning, but from a double heart, a kissy face, and a fourth ha in ha ha ha. That's when Jordan knew he was buzzed. So when it was time to go, he got a ride home instead of driving. Be a legend like Jordan. Recognize your buzzed warning signs and get a ride home. Buzz driving is drunk driving.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering them could save you from having a stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
If I could be you, and you could be me for just 1 hour. Walk a mile in my shoes. Walk a mile in my shoes.
Welcome back to Studio 501c3, your window into exceptional nonprofit programs in Montgomery County. I'm talking with Lisa Alexander, the Executive Director of the Audubon Naturalist Society. And before the break, I said I wanted to ask you about what drew you to this work. Is this something that is this kind of work something that you, personally were drawn to and you were always involved in, and it became the perfect opportunity to lead this organization, or was there something else?
Well, my own personal story kind of proves the point that once you get connected with Audubon Naturalist Society, you stay connected your whole life long. In fact, when I was fresh out of college and seeking my very first job, I landed an internship at Audubon Naturalist Society because my desire was to work in science education and nature education. And lo and behold, I got this great opportunity. It was a short internship, and I went on to a career in teaching and educational publishing. But when I ended up back in the DC area, the siren song of this wonderful connection between education and conservation and restoration just drew me right back in. And I've been with Audubon Naturalist Society now since 2005. And it's just a relationship of great love and affection for the people and for the work that we do.
Oh, thank you for sharing that. So now I want to move to the connection. Do you think that people always understand that there is a connection between conservation and protection and climate? Do you think that there's a connection there, or some people still kind of don't get that?
Well, I think as we begin to actually feel the impacts of climate, people are starting to take notice. Folks notice that our storms are more frequent and more intense, and suddenly managing how stormwater flows off of our land becomes more important to them. Folks are noticing that summers are hotter, and suddenly planting trees to help cool the surface starts to feel more important to them. So in a way, it's too bad because we're having to wait until the effects of climate change are here for us to step up and take notice. But it's certainly not too late for us to take action to mitigate those effects and reverse climate crisis, greenhouse gases in particular. And we can do that with our own personal behavior.
Right. Well, I want to, before we run out of time, because we're running down to the last couple of minutes, you also mentioned when you, in the introduction, that there is an Audubon shop. What can we find when we visit the Audubon shop?
Well, wonderfully, you don't even have to visit. You can shop online at anshome.org. So if you go to anshome.org, you can shop online. You can shop for nature guides. You can shop for nature toys for children, wonderful nature books, bird feeding supplies, gardening supplies, everything to help you sort of up your nature IQ, you can find at the Audubon Naturalist shop. And so I encourage folks to either explore it online or in person at our Wood End Nature Sanctuary in Chevy Chase.
Oh, that's great. And we talked about volunteers, but I also want to know, does the society also take donations, and where do those donations go? What are they used for?
Oh, they're used for so much. We have a wonderful, hardworking staff. We keep our sanctuaries free and open to the public. We're restoring our headquarters with hundreds of native plants, and those donations support all of those activities, including our incredible outreach to our public schools throughout the region. So donations help us, again, grow that next generation of nature stewards. And you can donate at anshome.org/donate.
So that's good to know. So volunteering, donating, taking advantage of all of the programs, the educational programs, and just enjoying the field trips. You also have a water quality monitoring program, and we're down to our last 30 seconds. So I just wanted to mention that. But we are out of time. I think we've learned quite a bit about nature, conservation, environmental protection, from Lisa Alexander with the Audubon Naturalist Society. And Lisa, thank you so much for sharing this information with the audience.
Oh, thank you so much, Kim. I hope some folks will come to visit us soon.
I'll be there soon. For more information on the Audubon Naturalist Society, visit their website at anshome.org. I'm Kim Jones. Thanks for joining us, and come back for another edition of Studio 501c3 on Montgomery Community Media.